Hey, if you've ever built a castle interior just like this one, well, let me tell you, in real life, the roof would instantly fall. Ouch. Are you guys okay? As a professional architect in Minecraft, one of the most crazy things to me is how gravity is just a complete lie. Because everything wants to fall down and kill you in real life. But today we're going to turn on real life gravity and I'm going to explain to you actual structural engineering so that you can make your builds better. Now the first concept that you need to understand is compression and tension. Compression is compression. You've probably seen it in those 2019 pressing videos. As you can see, it's just compression. Tension is the opposite. It's when you pull something, just like when I pulled out of your mom last. Now that you understand the basics, let's talk about some terms. A column is something that's standing up. A beam is horizontal, and putting them together, we get column and a beam. Now in real life, gravity would actually cause this beam to, well,
Wait, I forgot to turn on the command block.
well, it did nothing. And if we actually take a look at this diagram here that I've drawn professionally using my architectural techniques, you will see how compression and tension play a role. As you can see, you realize there's tension. As you can see, these parts here at the top are being pulled away, so there's tension at the top here, while these parts at the bottom here are being pushed into each other, which is compression. Now, when we actually move on to a beam that's between two columns, the beam tends to bend in the middle. Here in this case, it would be compression at the top and tension at the bottom. Think about it, right? Pushing this in, these are being pulled out. But here's the thing, wood is actually really good. You can just make beams and columns out of wood, and you can place walls on those beams and columns, and you have a pretty good solid structure. Now moving on to concrete. As you can see, concrete is actually really good at compression, like really, really good at compression. But when it comes to tension, yeah, let's just say it completely breaks down under tension. Just like me with your mom last night. We can actually introduce something inside the concrete called rebar, which is actually just made out of steel. And the thing about rebar, or steel in general, is that it's very good at tension. Like very, very good, like better than me with your mom. We add the beam and column to our concrete example. As you can see, yeah, it's not looking good for the concrete. But reinforced concrete perfectly carries it well. Now, speaking about loads, the load that I put in your mom last night. So here's a piece of iron, and it's on top of this reinforced concrete. So the way that loads work is that they need to go down, right? The load is going to go from here. It's going to go through all the way through the column, all the way down to the foundation. And when it comes to beams, the weight that's being put down on this iron is going to move through the beam into the column and then all the way down to the foundation. And that is the basis of the system known as beams and columns. As you can see, here are the beams, here are the columns. Usually the beams would be much thinner, but I'm still in love with your mom and she's pretty thick. And you can put whatever you want on these beams and columns and you'll be fine. And this is how a lot of then everything will be fine. You can even have beam on a column. And how would that work? Well, the weight would move from this beam, column, all the way down to the foundation. Or you could do something a bit different and actually make a system known as flat slab. Basically what you're doing is you're just extending the beams across the entire thing. That's pretty much, I mean, it's a bit of an oversimplification. You can put whatever you want, right? You can put wood or any weight you want, and it's gonna move from the floor, flat slab, to the column, all the way down to the foundation. Now, be careful of one thing, because this is literally the structure. If you, let's say, want to make a staircase right here, you're just weakening the entire structure and it's all going to fall on you and everything is going to be horrible. And that takes us to arches. Now, the reason why I'm talking about arches is because back in the day, like when it comes to castles, they weren't really that strong, especially when it came to stone brick. So yeah, if it was flat, it would just, it's weaker than me thrusting your mom. And that's why we used arches. Okay, arches are basically triangles. So let's look at this weight here, put on top of this arch. As you can see, the weight is getting distributed to the arch and then to the column, as you can see right here. And this is because arches are basically just triangles, which is the strongest shape. Okay, it's the strongest shape in architecture. As you can see, this iron block here, its weight is half going this way and half is going this way. Then the weight gets completely distributed all the way to the ground in half, and it's very good and everyone's happy. That's the arch. Now this takes us to modern day styles, which is just removing the concrete, because who likes concrete, am I right? So you have stuff like steel structures here, and we have stuff like trusses, which are basically just rebar triangles. Well, they're not rebar, they're steel, because when they're outside of the concrete, they're full steel. And they're basically steel triangles, and it's basically the same concept. And that takes you stuff like steel frames or space truss systems. Now those are a little bit too complicated for Minecraft, so let me know if you want a video about frames and trusses. I will do it, I will. If you're enjoying this video and want to learn more design tips and tricks, please consider liking and subscribing. Okay, back to the video. Now, how can we use this to improve our interior? Well, that is a very good question, my friend. And I have the answer because I am an architect. Wow, new fact unlocked. So the best way to do that would be to give columns and beams. So let's make some columns and beams. Hey, you're not meant to see this. Okay, now that we've made the columns, you're probably thinking, oh, well, that's enough, right? It's totally gonna hold itself. Wrong! Because you see, this entire bit here is very long and it's just gonna fall down and do the gravel thing, but I'm too lazy to do that again, so I'll just I ran out of budget, okay? I ran out of budget. So how do we fix that? Well, yes, you're correct. We add beams. Very, very well done. You're very smart. But the problem is, like I said, in ancient times, like in this castle here, they wouldn't be able to make beams that were very effective because that's just not how things work. So what they would do instead is make arches, which is what we're gonna do now. As you can see, it already just looks so much better. Now let's actually add more of this all across and you're gonna see how much better this looks. And yeah, pretty much as you can see, it just immediately looks better because it just looks believable, which is awesome. Now we can actually take this as well a step further. And don't forget to add arches this way as well because, you know, we don't want the ceiling to collapse. And yeah, just like that, you suddenly see how structure just makes everything look so much better. And instead of just having floating building, when you actually have structure, it looks so much more believable. But it also makes you subconsciously understand that the building is not gonna fall on you and kill you. So that's what I would recommend you guys to do. Whenever you build a Minecraft base, stop, ask yourself, does it make sense? And does the structure make sense? And if it doesn't, you probably want to change it. So let's do a final check to see that you guys understand. Okay, so let's say there's a weight here, right? Where would the weight go? Well, half of the weight would go here, and it would go onto this arch. It would be handled by this arch. This arch would then send the weight down itself, all the way down to the column, right? And the column would take this all the way down underground into the foundation. And that's how you handle loads, just like I handle loads in your oh wait, no, I already made that joke before. So thank you guys so much for watching this video all the way through. If you enjoyed, obviously please consider liking and subscribing. It means the world to me, but also it helps me as I am a growing channel. Also remember to hype. Don't forget to hype. It's very important that you hype. It's hyping. I'm very hyped. And I will see you, ladies, gentlemen, and MBs, in my next video.